Well, everybody, it looks like it is going to be quite the cliffhanger. I mean, I know the coronation planners and the king, too, have been very busy trying to figure out a variety of things when it comes to the coronation, but it looks like things have gotten a lot worse today. According to a new report out, Harry and Meghan cannot decide if they should come to King Charles and Queen Camilla's coronation or if they should stay home and do, well, I'm not sure exactly what they do, but something else. On Thursday, the Daily Mail reported that Meghan and Harry are, for a change, forcing courtiers to reach for the junior aspirins, and they still have not told the palace whether or not they're going to be coming to the historic event or not, even though actually the cutoff for RSVPs was on Monday. Apparently, everything is still up in the air, according to a source who spoke with the Mail. The only thing that anybody knows is that it should hopefully be resolved soon, so it's causing quite the headache. Switching things like seating arrangements is a pretty easy thing to do, but the one thing that is causing quite a headache is security, cars, and other logistical matters. Now there are two plans, one for if Meghan and Harry do show up, and another if they don't. It is yet another layer of responsibility that staff probably don't want to be dealing with. On some level, it is understandable that Meghan and Harry cannot decide if they should show up so that they can be ignored by the family for a few hours on live TV. For obvious reasons, Harry and Meghan, after they've turned their hurt feelings and family fights into TV viewing and bench reading, they are facing quite a cold reception by his no longer nearest or dearest family members. They're facing a reception from his family that's going to be positively frozen. I mean, it could probably refreeze the polar ice caps that have melted. After being spurned by your brother, your sister in law, and basically everyone other than maybe an unimportant cousin or two, with every moment caught on camera for our home viewing, it does not sound very enjoyable, I've got to admit. Even if they can put up with being cold shouldered, they also face having to accept a B list part in proceedings. Their son, Archofficial, who's going to turn 4 years old on that very day, has also not been invited, even though when Charles was a young boy, he fidgeted and he had to yawn his way through his mother's coronation in 1953. And apparently, William and Catherine's three young children will be there. Prince George will be featuring as one of his grandfather's pages. He's going to be the youngest future king to ever participate in a coronation, meaning that he is going to have something very interesting to share for show and tell the following week. And then after the service, there is scheduled to be a carriage procession that's going to wind its way from the Abbey back to the palace through the streets of London. Apparently, they're planning to set up football style bleachers to accommodate all the crowds. And again, the Wales family is expected to be getting ready for the most vigorous, grueling hand waving session of their entire lives. I do hope they have a good warm up for those arms because, my goodness, they're liable to pull something. At this point, it has not been confirmed, but it seems increasingly likely that non working members of the king's family are going to be excluded, and that might result in the absurd image of at least one prince, a duchess, and two princesses being forced to travel to the palace using a minibus. And the climax of the coronation will be when the king, the queen, and just a few people are going to take their waving routine out onto the palace balcony. On this front, the Mirror has been doing some reporting, and on Thursday they reported that it will only be the frontline members of the House of Windsor there. So that means that if Meghan and Harry decide to go to the coronation, they face being reminded again and again of exactly how far they have fallen in less time than it took for Princess Anne to finish that one can of hairspray, from star billing to random cousin territory. And another thing to consider is that if Meghan and Harry decide to show up for Charles and Camilla's big day, that will signify something of a climbing down for Harry from his moral high horse, after he has already said that he expects his family to come clean and apologize to Meghan. But at the same time, the Sussexes really need to go to the coronation. And that is because their careers, their very livelihoods, and any invitations to brunches are very dependent on public interest in them. And that, as a result, is dependent on their royal status. Now, if their titles are taken away, if the family is taken away, then they're just two people making some very mediocre content, with mediocre CVs and a mortgage about as big as a small nation state's GDP. So could they really even afford to miss this opportunity to top up their royal juju? Is it a possibility that they're going to risk excluding themselves from what might be one of the biggest TV events ever? This is a serious mess, and it doesn't seem like there are any perfect options for the two. I mean, for anybody involved, really. I can't imagine how stressful this is for those fretting palace staffers who are just trying to figure out the seating charts. And there's also another factor here making stuff even more complicated. That is the fact that the coronation just so happens to fall on Archie's birthday. But there's another possible interpretation of Harry and Meghan having yet to click yes or no on their palace evite. They're playing games with the palace, which again would make a lot of sense coming from those two. In January, of course, Harry was busy giving all those whiny TV interviews to sell his book, and he made it abundantly clear that he expects his family to come to the table and perhaps even do some apologizing. And we all know what the palace's answer was. Well, they didn't do anything. There was no statement, no admission, no concessions, and definitely no hugging. Charles, Camilla, William, and Catherine just got on with their busy work of making trips to the home counties to pretend to be interested in produce markets and also press a little bit of commoner flesh. So if Harry and Meghan decided that they want to make some various royal mandarins in HRH's lives a little bit more difficult, I think it is understandable considering how they operate. Even so, as of Monday, it is only 26 days until the big day. And you know what? At some point, Harry and Meghan are going to have to make a decision. Whether they check yes or check no, the bottom line is the clock is ticking. And you, what do you think about this news? Please tell me your opinion below in the comments section. If you think my video is helpful, don't be afraid to like and share it with anyone else who would enjoy it. And besides that,